My name is Kate. I am 44 years old. One day, I bumped into my ex-husband, Leo, in the hallway of the ward office. "Well, you're still as old woman as ever." Leo said that as soon as he saw me. He hasn't changed a bit in the past 4 years. Well, his appearance seems to have aged a bit compared to before. His hairline has receded a bit. Upon closer inspection, he looks somewhat shabby. Maybe it's because my attitude towards him has changed in the past 4 years. Yes, back then, I was 40 years old. Our only son had turned 22, and just when I thought I would finally have some freedom after his independence, I was hit with a declaration from my ex-husband Leo, who is 8 years older than me. "I don't want to be with an old woman like you anymore. Younger women are better after all," he declared. I was shocked by this sudden divorce announcement. What are you saying? That I want a divorce? Why? Why are you abandoning me after all the support I've given you? All that support you talk about is annoying. Originally, it was Leo who passionately pursued me when I was 18. I was naive and was pushed into marriage and soon became pregnant. At that time, Leo was a playboy, and at the age of 48, he still had the image of a bad guy old man and seemed to be doing very well. I must admit, there were times when I was swayed by his charms. "You were young and good at first, but after having a child, you've completely sagged. You should be thankful that I've put up with you all this time." What? Put up with me? Are you saying you've been supporting me just for the sake of raising our child? Well, yay. Otherwise, who would want to live with such an old hag like you? The kid is grown up now, you're no longer needed. Leo spoke selfishly and arrogantly, despite being told I don't look 40 by those around me. Honestly, I don't consider myself that much of an old woman. Yet, the way he talks to me. Everyone gets older. It's impossible to stay young forever. That's why I want you to break up with me. All I have to do is replace you with a new, younger woman. He said it as if you were replacing a car or something. Are you cheating? I'm not, but if you divorce me, I can easily find someone else. I couldn't help but suspect he might be cheating, but at that moment, I had no evidence. As we were arguing, my mother-in-law, who lives with us, came in. Although she was 68 years old and elderly, she was still lively. "What's going on?" I looked to my mother-in-law for help. "Mother-in-law, Leo wants to break up. He said he don't need an old woman." That's impossible. However, from my mother-in-law's mouth came an unbelievable statement. That's right. I had always felt that she didn't particularly like me, but this time, I thought she would support me as a woman. Well, that's just how men are. Mother-in-law. Is that really okay? Well, it's not like I was the one being dumped. Wait, hold on. Didn't you two oppose it when I said I wanted to work? Well, yay. It's embarrassing to have your wife work. It's like Leo isn't earning enough. And I couldn't go to work because of it. And now, all of a sudden, you're firing your wife because she's getting old. That's unreasonable. That's right, since I was prevented from going to work, I spent my free time doing volunteer work in the community. My mother-in-law raised her hands in exasperation and said, "Well, you were doing the job of a wife, so why not find a new job?" Leo, being his usual self, joked, "Well, if there's a place that hires old women." Oh man, I can't stand old women. Are you saying women lose their value as they age? I was so angry from the bottom of my heart. Well, yeah, that's how it goes. Women get flattered when they're young. I'm not pampered because I had my kids when I was young. I've spent my whole life raising children and doing things around the house. Once again, I was saddened and wondered what my 22 years had been like. I was only concentrating on taking care of my children, Leo, and my mother-in-law. Well, that's too bad, but I did pamper you, didn't I? I said that I pampered you. I even married you, so that's enough, isn't it? I was angry and saddened by his arguments, and my heart was in shreds. Once again, I questioned what the past 22 years meant to me, and felt a deep sadness. And even my mother-in-law proudly exclaimed, "That's right, Kate is a lucky woman. She's by the side of a good man like Leo." What was I even doing, dedicating myself to a parent and child like them? Well, anyway, you better leave soon. We're soon to be redeveloped here anyway. At the time, there were rumors that our house would be subject to redevelopment, and there was talk of being allocated alternative land. It's rumored that we'll get a good sum if we negotiate, and it's better to have a new wife and new tatami mats. Apparently, he intends to get a hefty relocation fee and discuss a new house with his new wife. Do you think you can get away with such selfishness? How can you abandon a wife who has taken such good care of you? You're going to hell, you know that. He laughed heartily. I'd rather go to hell than live with such an old woman until the end of my life. I sighed and resigned myself. It seems like nothing I say will get through to you. Who listens to what an old woman says? I only listen to young women. He joked arrogantly. He laughed even louder. Realizing that I would never get anywhere with him and my mother-in-law, and that I should think about a different life, I understand. I stamped the divorce papers and left home. That was 4 years ago. Now, I'm facing my ex-husband, Leo, in the corridor of the ward office. He glanced at me from head to toe in my suit and nodded approvingly. Breaking up with an old woman like you was definitely the right decision, he said with satisfaction. Even though you're wearing a decent suit, you're still just an old woman. He chuckled in the same way as before. Feeling the sting of past humiliations, I felt that now was the time for payback. Still the same as ever. I'm grateful you divorced me. Huh. Don't act tough. What kind of job does an old woman like you have anyway? Working at the job center today? Or on welfare? No, neither of those. But I have been studying welfare. See, I knew it. Older women are pathetic. What about you? What are you doing at the ward office? Oh, and I looked at the sign in the room he came out of, and it said, Welfare Department. He had a brand new thick envelope in his hand. When my gaze shifted to the envelope, he quickly hid it behind his back. It's for caregiving. I came to apply for my mom's caregiving insurance. There's no caregiving insurance section in this room though. I got lost. It's a hassle. If it's caregiving, it's on the second floor. Does your mom need care? Yay, well, sort of. She hurt her back after that. It seems he really did go to the caregiving insurance section. Oh dear, that must be tough for your new wife. I had heard rumors that he remarried soon after. Not really. Isn't it tough? Is she a caregiver or something? Shut up. She's not around. Weren't you the one who wanted to marry a young girl? Yeah, but... He trailed off awkwardly. What, did you break up? She was too young for my charms, you know. Oh, I see. No one would go to such an old man who stinks. And no young girl would come to be your wife either. I guess she must have realized the reality after living with you. He flinched for a moment at my harsh words, but then said, it was my mother's care. It's my mother's fault she got sick and couldn't move. And then he blamed his mother, not himself. That's something you could have anticipated. Did neither you nor that girl think it through? We were planning to live separately from my mom. I really meant it. I raised an eyebrow. So we would use the relocation fee to move into the new house, and my mother would use the excess money to rent an apartment. Are you saying your mom agreed to that? If her beloved son asked, she would. I didn't get to tell her in the end because she collapsed. What a selfish brat he was. I was exasperated by his childishness. I'm so glad we got divorced. I really didn't want to have to take care of such a man. I couldn't help but express my true feelings. To which he turned bright red and yelled back, it's not like I can't get a woman if I wanted to. Spitting out his words. Well, it seems like there were more women when we were married too. He flinched and looked at me. You clearly stated that you didn't cheat when we broke up. Well, yay. I was suspicious, so I investigated. I used a detective agency. Why would you do something like that? He asked. Because if you were cheating, I could have gotten alimony from you. You were thinking about that. Older women really have nasty personalities. What are you talking about? Money is necessary to live. It seems you were careful not to leave any evidence behind. But in the end, there was nothing. Of course not. It's audacious for a discarded woman to ask for alimony. If anything, after putting up with an old woman like you, I should be the one asking for alimony. I ignored his outburst. Well, even though nothing came out of it at the time, I had a few calls from your previous flings, so I kept their numbers. Huh. You know, I've been trying to figure out where some of your flings have gotten my phone number from, so I've been blocking the number. I wonder if they are not smart enough to call me with a private number. That's the kind of person who would fall for you. What's that supposed to mean? You didn't say anything about it. Oh, so you admit you've been cheating on me. He looked flustered. I don't know. Maybe they were just delusional to think they were dating me. That's not evidence. He tried to sound confident. I thought it didn't matter. I didn't think you would quit the affair if I blamed you, and I put up with it for the sake of the kids. I didn't cheat. He insisted adamantly. He has lost his old slightly bad fodder appearance. His hair is thin, his suit is shabby, his face is full of spots, and he doesn't look like a woman would be attracted to him. How can you call someone an old woman with this? In a way, I'm impressed by his audacity. Well, whether or not a dirty old man like you was dating younger girls doesn't matter to me. Is that so? Isn't that wedding ring on your finger from when you were with me? He pointed out, eyeing the ring on my left hand. You still can't get over me, can you? I can't help it. If you want, I'll even take you back. I couldn't believe my ears. No, thank you. Oh, you're being stubborn again. You're really in a lot of trouble, aren't you? He looked at me with licking eyes. I felt sick to my stomach. This is the ring from my remarriage. I got rid of the one from you a long time ago. Can't even remember the shape of the ring. How mentally deficient can you be? Huh. Remarriage. With an old woman like you. Yeah, there are people who appreciate things. Someone who'd accept someone like me. Just then, my current husband happened to walk by. He's a well-built man with a badge of a congressman. What's wrong? Who says I like things? He tilted his head and approached me. Oh, it's just, this guy. Leo's face stiffened, as if he recognized him. He's definitely a connoisseur. Well, he certainly seems like one. My husband chuckled, glancing briefly at Leo. Then, he politely bowed and said, hello. Leo, looking bewildered, nervously replied, hello. Finally raising his gaze. Without saying anything, my husband smiled at me. I have a meeting, so I'll go now. And quickly left. Leo's mouth flutters like a goldfish. Are you his wife? For now. Where did you meet a famous congressman like him? I used to do a lot of volunteer work. I had a lot of opportunities to get to know people in government. And, by the way, I showed him the badge on my chest. I'm a congressman now, too. Huh. So, I'm grateful you divorced me. I wouldn't have been able to pursue my career with you around. I was always interested in politics. I was hesitant when my volunteer friends suggested it, but your divorce helped me make up my mind. He also supported the policy of increasing female congressmen. Wait, when did you? Oh, I ran in the election from the neighboring district due to various reasons, so you didn't know after all. Today is an inter-district exchange meeting. Oh, an old woman like you is a congresswoman. Well, congressmen are usually in their 40s, and I'm a young talent just right for focusing on politics after raising kids. Thanks to that, I've been quite useful around. Leo blinked his eyes rapidly, looking at me. I looked at him as if seeing a pitiful creature. You haven't changed at all. Oh, your appearance has changed. Getting older can be a good thing, or a bad thing. And I stared at his head, blandly. Then he panicked, covering his head with both hands, as to stop it. He said, starting to grind his teeth. Satisfied with his reaction, I decided to leave the situation. Well, I guess we won't be seeing each other again. Be happy with someone somewhere. I nodded. But then, he suddenly looked alarmed. Wait. You're the one who removed my house from redevelopment, aren't you? He said something incomprehensible. Apparently, his house wasn't included in the redevelopment plans, so he didn't get the relocation compensation he was expecting. What are you talking about? I'm just a newbie. I don't have that kind of power. Besides, it was just a rumor back then. I think it's crazy to believe such rumors right away. In reality, even if he complained, it wouldn't amount to much money. Yet, Leo thought he could get a large sum if he complained enough. How naive can he be? Liar. I'm sure you did. You manipulated things behind the scenes. He tried to attack me, but nearby security guard intervened. "Congressman, are you all right? Should we ask them to leave?" "I'll leave." Leo, though excited, quieted down. "I'm fine. Thank you. I used to know him a long time ago." "I understand. I'll be nearby if you need me." And he moved away, keeping a wary eye on Leo's movements. Shocked by being stopped by the security guard, Leo looked nervous and pleaded with me with his eyes. I just got fired from my job. You see, because of taking care of my mom, I couldn't focus on work." "That's unfortunate, but aren't there companies nowadays that are somewhat understanding about caregiving?" "It's not that kind of company. So I can't really rely on welfare assistance for caregiving." How much of a spoiled man can he be? When he asked me earlier, "I'll marry you," he just wanted someone to take care of his mother, didn't he? Calling me an old lady and seriously thinking such a request would be granted, does he really believe that? But, in the first place, such fraud isn't possible. I don't engage in such misconduct, so please understand. Wait a minute," he said, sitting on the floor and bowing deeply to me. People around us were looking at him strangely. I felt embarrassed. What are you doing? Please stop it. I'm begging you." He shamelessly bowed his head to me repeatedly. Feeling at a loss, I watched as two security guards approached. "Are you okay? He's been acting suspiciously for a while," they said, trying to escort Leo away. Leo struggled, shouting, "Hey! You'll regret abandoning me. Let go. I'm her ex-husband." It was such a pathetic sight, I couldn't bear to watch. The security guards subdued Leo as he resisted and dragged him out towards the exit. I left the scene promptly. Since then, I've been smoothly carrying out my political activities, dedicating myself to supporting women's employment and child care reform. My husband is supportive of my political endeavors, and we live happily discussing the future of this country together. I've been enjoying a fulfilling life that I couldn't have imagined during the time I was under Leo and his mother's control. Recently, my son, who was born during my marriage to Leo, has begun showing interest in my political activities and has started working with me as a secretary. When I asked him about his father, Leo, he said, "Don't worry about him, Mom. He's the one who kicked Mom out like that, so you can consider him a stranger now." It was hard for him to talk openly about it, but when I kept pressing because something seemed off, he finally opened up. "Well, actually, Dad has become an alcoholic and is in the hospital now." It seems Leo has fallen into alcoholism. How pitiful can one person be? I've arranged for Grandma's care at a facility. But Grandma keeps getting into fights with the staff, so she's been moving from one facility to another. I didn't want to burden my son, so I provided financial assistance for alcoholism treatment and care facilities. My son looked genuinely apologetic, but children can't choose their parents. I felt grateful to have a job. Ultimately, it seems that decent people like us end up bearing the consequences of the misdeeds of others. It's a world that's hard to accept, but I strive every day to make it a little better.